and see the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comment? No. Okay, moving on. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Seeing none. Next up, we have student board representative Madison.
Don't really have a school report, not in school yet, but I could maybe go a little bit on my trip. Allowed. So for those who don't know, I was attending a pre-college program at Harvard University for 2 weeks. I got back on Sunday at 3 in the morning. It's not the funnest flight. Our flight back home got delayed in Chicago for 4 hours. So we were just in the airport for a really long time. But it was really nice. I quite liked it a lot. All the buildings there were like the very fancy old like brick buildings. They were all really pretty to look at. I have pictures I can show people after the meeting if they want to see. But they had good dining hall food. That was nice. The one sad thing though is that almost none of their buildings had air conditioning. And on average, since it's in Massachusetts, it was like 85 to 90 degrees over there. But with like a 50 to 60% chance of humidity, so it felt like 100 and 105 at all times. So most times it felt better to be outside than inside, just due to the lack of air conditioning. But yeah, I had to walk a lot. On average, I walked 7 miles a day. Because my classroom was 20 minutes away from my dorm building, and then the dining hall was 15 minutes away from that. So it was just a lot of walking every single day in the heat. That part wasn't the funnest. But no, I enjoyed my class. I did the law and philosophy, and it was basically just a reading. I can't go into much detail about it, but it was just reading a bunch of court cases. We would have debates on it in class, and generally just having fun, arguing against each other, but still trying to think about it in a nice philosophy way, including everyone's opinions and all of that. But no, it was really fun, and I still do want to go into law. I'm just looking into the different branches right now, but I'm thinking of going into animal protection law or going into so just copyright law, there we go, which is like protecting like artists and protecting their rights to their art. But no, I had a very fun time.
Were you the only one from Oregon there?
I believe so. Because I like the very like opening ceremony, they were like, stand up if you were from the West Coast or like all that. And there was only like 3 other people who stood up. And I talked to some of them and they were all from Washington. So I never actually found anyone else from Oregon. The most people that were there were actually from the United Kingdom, surprisingly. And then a couple from obviously Massachusetts as well. But no, a lot of them from the United Kingdom, and we had also quite a bit from China there as well. So yeah, the West Coast was very sparse in recognition of India. We had quite a bit from there too. Yeah.
How many people joined you? How many people altogether you think?
So I know they said, I think for each, so there was 3 different weekends, and I think each weekend they said they had about 500 kids. But, and then in my class, there was about 20-ish of us.
So very nice.
It's quite
I
fun.
enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Couple more weeks and you'll be back in school.
I know.
Okay, next up, we have action items, consent agenda, which includes the July meeting minutes, personnel reports.
Madam Chair, I move that we go ahead and approve the agenda, consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any comments?
We have an open position still for the director of technology. Is that a risk school year? Open the school year?
I appreciate the question. I'll respond. I'll respond as well. This is a position that we included in the budget. It was designed to in terms of the finances of it, be something that we hire. You're given the time between the budget cycle, all the work done to prep for bond, really felt like it was important to stay focused on those pieces and come back and hire. The candidate pool isn't necessarily gonna come from education, they might come from the private sector. And our rate is to be open with a certain degree of cybersecurity policies in place and practices, technology for instruction. I feel but I want to give Director Ellis a chance to respond as well.
I would just add that we haven't had anyone in that position for a while. We just had a supervisor in the department and we purposefully posted it. While Tony was out of the office on vacation, so that we could get applications in. So he and I will begin screening them probably next week and we have 9. So that's a fairly solid pool. I've not reviewed them yet. So I can't say that they're all qualified, but we do have 9.
And in terms of the actual interview process, screening process, neither Jennifer nor I, nor would I expect anyone in the organization to have the kind of technology and acumen we would expect that the individual will be coming into this role. So we'll, in situations like this, look to like CSD, for example, to ask if their director can sit at that interview table with us and bring the expertise we need in that selection. Screening.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the staff that we have now is taking care of the cybersecurity and everything else that we.
Yeah, and it's the same, well, thank you, I never gave the answer.
No, that was my question.
Gary Daniel, that has been our existing technology staff. District. There have been times when we've contracted for additional support from ESD. But that FTE that's there is the same FTE as we're starting this school year. So we aren't down to a person, we're actually adding a more formal structure to support the good structure.
All right, any other questions? Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, raise your right hand. Passes, unanimously. Okay, next up we have information discussion, the Long River Middle School capital project replacement update with Dr. Stewart.
Good evening. Some new faces that I haven't seen in person before. Well, I can report tonight that the bond program is on budget. It's on schedule. We're meeting all our commitments. Not too difficult. We haven't got too started yet, too much, but last meeting, the board approved a contract for project management firm OTAC. And they have already started with milestone schedule, a spend down or cash flow analysis, and we're going to start working on procuring consultants for the district, like traffic engineers and hazardous materials consultants. And then soon we'll be engaging staff on facility standards, technology standards, and really engaging staff on the educational specification or educational program of the building. So that's coming up soon. And many thanks again to the firm, to the committee that worked on both reviewing proposals and interviewing for the architectural services, and the same group that did the program management services. So they reviewed 4 architectural firm proposals and interviewed 2, and we've been checking references and hope to have a formal decision tomorrow. And it might be pushing it, but we're hoping to bring it to the board on the 22nd for approval of the contract. Any questions?
I think so.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have communications report. Ms. Watson.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you all. I have my regular installment of activities. I would say the biggest one we had was last night with the barbecue, the celebration for the bond. But we're also continuing to move forward on our promises and the bond project. So also as part of my report tonight, we have the names of the 18 applicants who applied for the bond oversight committee. And we would be, looking to appoint these folks, in August, and then with that, we would have a charter, so you know what the scope of they would be doing, and they would know as well. And then, we're working on, once we know who they are, we'll try to find a common time, and we're thinking the initial meetings will be very educational in approach. And we want to consult with the, project manager and the architect, which hopefully will be on board right there too. So that we can kind of structure, what is bond, what's the oversight process gonna look like, how often you want to meet. Don't really see any reason we wouldn't appoint the 18 because we said we would take up to 20. And then we also know from our other districts and the outreach we did, to start working on the charter, that some of these people will come on and off, some may have challenges attending. And so we can open it up in the future and take additional applicants and keep adding people as other people rotate off. And then we also have, agreed in concept, as long as you support this, that we would like to have these meetings be like on YouTube and just transparent. We feel like this process is really to show the community that there isn't anything about this that we're not willing to have, made public. So there'll be other processes, right? We've already know from the architect, there'll be opportunities for people to weigh in on the design as well. But this is really, sort of give it that community stamp of approval that we did what we said with the money and that we're using the money. So as we promised. So we feel it's really important to have a good sized group in our community so that we can continue to work on that information, reaching all corners of our community. I think we were, pleased with the, we put it out there 3 or 4 different ways and different times, and the process just continued to grow. And I checked today, we didn't shut it down, but we did say for earliest consideration to have them in by July 18. So we have 18.
So can we add any more? This is probably too late.
No, we could add some more.
Okay, I want to talk to a couple of people.
Yeah, that would be great. We just thought to give you a preview in case you wanted to weigh in here and say,
How many days a week or just one day a month or whatever?
we think it will come and go in terms of frequency. In the beginning, we were thinking at least every month. And then maybe there might be a pause, right? Because there's not really going to be a lot to do with the finances until we start construction. But we felt like get them together, go over operating agreements, make sure everybody who applied wants to do it once they understand what they'd actually be doing. And, and then we could, a lot of districts do it every quarter. We talked here about really feeling like if we started right out of the gate saying we're only going to meet every 3 months, that there might be a credibility issue with that they might not feel like they were needed or they were going to do anything important. And we don't feel that way. We feel like this is a very important role to fulfill in our community, especially to keep building the trust that we did what we said. And so we think meet with them until they're saying, wait, I don't want to meet this time. So we don't have all the answers for sure, but if you have suggestions or again, any of these people, or you thought somebody did apply that didn't, or that in your peer group, I don't see, anyone who fits that bill, like we would definitely take more applications. And also remember, we are saying we were gonna broadcast so people can always watch and not be on the committee.
Is there a form they have to fill out?
It's a Google form.
Is for you or?
I can send the link out again. It's on our bond website though. But I can send it out to all of you if you would help us spread the word.
I can send it to my regular computer because my school computer, my authenticator just isn't working.
Okay, all right, no problem. Okay, and then my final item tonight is about the logo. Again, I think we've had a really good, rich discussion of this, and I think it's great. I did think that we would sort of hit fatigue and people wouldn't want to keep weighing in, and I was wrong about that. So thank you for pushing me and also for, Director Luke, who's not with us this evening, his suggestions about how we ask the questions. And we did get some very valuable input through that process. And we also were able to then take those 43 different suggestions came in of how we could make one or both of these designs better. And we passed all those along to the artists and extended it a few more days. And so we got some other modifications. And then when we really did look at that, the one on the right, B, remember Amy, at some point you said it has to have trees and we told them to add the trees. So like we've seen a lot of these, in both of these families, we have seen, I would say at least 20 to 50 designs. And then we sent these color versions, the black and whites and the reverses, over to the Clackamas ESD because they do a lot of our printing, and we asked the graphics department there. We also posted it on the Oregon School Public Relations user group, so all of the 100 members or so of that organization left us some comments. We sent those back to the artists. So what you see here tonight is two different families, and you see a color version and a black and white version. The consensus really is all along, design A has been what the community, that's the family that they like the most. But when we started saying, what could we do to make it better? You know, like one of the feedback was not have the sky be orange. That reminded people of the fires, you know, that was really good input. So we saw modifications both to A and B to eliminate the skyline color. So now there's just a sun in there, but the whole thing is in orange. Is that we, recommend design B. Our printer and our graphics people really feel like that one can be made into a line drawing easily. I know we've talked about shape a lot. Again, we have multiple designs from both of these families, and we can make it round, we can make it stacked this way. But we also got some feedback that the one on the right, if you didn't use the image and you just use the words, the way that they've elected to use the color, it could stand alone by itself. And so if we really ran into shape issues, we could just use the image or we could just use the words, but the preferred was the one on the right. So that's kind of where I'm at. We took away all the gradation. We did get a number of feedback from the printer and the screen printing folks that having those stripes of blue would be an extra expense. It also didn't copy very well, so I made you a copy. Each of you have one where we also made it small, like approximately the size you'd see it on a business card, and then larger, like a digital or letterhead. And then, of course, as we make it in signs, it would be even, you know, it would stand out even more. So we are recommending that if you're inclined, that we adopt design B, and we do work with that family. So we would have, again, different shapes. But that's the one that we suggest, unless you just can't live with it and you want to go with A or go with what we have.
We want to drag this.
Yeah. That's right.
Prefer design B. It just stands out. I like the R.
I do like the R.
That was another point. They said they thought the eye just kind of, that from your eye point, you looked at the orange and then you sort of followed the river to the other orange schools, which really gets to what do we do? And so that kind of, I think, hit, you know, to the best of our ability with this iteration, everything we were trying for, so.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say thank you for all the extra. That you did.
Yeah.
I would be happy with either design. I think they both look, better than started.
And I do think when we look at that, I do think it's a refresh, that's what we're going for, I think it's better. And, you know, I know we're rooted in place, but Brave New Day, the firm that really did the bulk of this work, you know, really did a great job. I mean, I think the style guide that we just are missing this image. I don't think we have any disagreements with what they said. And that what they said was, you know, we want to be a different kind of educational provider here. We want to put the students' needs at the center and their aspirations for the future. And I think this kind of reflects that. There's some symbols there that we can work with, but it is rooted in Molalla schools, right? And so I think that that's why, you know, the criticism that we don't have anything school here besides the word schools, I understand, but we did see a lot of designs with caps and books and learning lamps and bell towers, and a lot of things that are traditionally schools, and we eliminated those. And I think we did that because at the heart of it, our interviews do show that it's about the place. And so that's why we keep coming back to nature and those things that make Molalla a unique place.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's really good.
Yeah. So do we need to take any kind of action?
We should have a consensus.
We would like you to take some
Yeah.
action, yeah,
Okay.
but
I'm good
you know.
with B. Does anybody object to B?
Did anybody want to make a motion?
Madam Chair.
I don't think we have to make a.
Well, that's what I said. That's what.
Oh, is this an action item? Sorry.
It wasn't,
We could
but
take
I
it.
think it would be nice.
Okay, well, fine, Madam Chair, I move that we allow them to use
Design.
design B.
Second.
Did you?
I'll second that.
No.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your right arm.
Thank you.
Okay. Did make it better.
Nice work.
I admit it.
It is, it is.
Your thoughtfulness is always appreciated.
Nobody can say that we didn't put thought into it.
That's
Okay, next up we have facilities and deferred maintenance report. Mr. Tiano.
Good evening. Good evening. I was gonna pull the Rick Gill part and, see if you guys got my report, if there's any questions. about the report.
You were gonna.
Sounds
say
good.
what? I didn't hear what you said at first.
Oh, pulling the Rick Gill.
Oh.
Yeah.
Couple of misspellings there.
It's all right.
One was in
Yeah.
Malino and Rudell. It was just a misplaced letter,
Uh-oh.
like in Malino,
I figured out what you were trying to
Yeah.
say.
it was empty classrooms, but you have EXPTI.
Typo.
Pull it aside.
It's.
Yeah, Rudell.
Madam Chair, just one question.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
climate tech updates, can you help me understand, are those, do they connect to our network?
They do.
And how is access to those devices governed?
It's governed by, it's a great question, like by me, Lance. So every morning we go in and we get onto our computer and basically look at the map of our buildings. One thing I kind of would like to show at one of our board meetings is if I bring my laptop and actually show you what the climate tech system looks like and how it's being used. So basically, climate tech, for the folks of you that don't know, in the mornings, we flip our computer open. We log in to this web control and we've got a list of buildings, all of our buildings, except for the middle school, we can monitor our boilers. And what it does, it gives us a map of every single school and classrooms. Let's say, I'm just gonna pick MES for instance. So you have a full map of Malal Elementary School, and you have all the classrooms. And if all the classrooms are in green, then we know the temperatures are good. We can click on to room 16. It can show us, we can go through different programs to show us if supply fans are, if return fans are running. If there's VFDs that are dropped, I can tell you if it's 68.4, 72.9, exactly what temperature in every single classroom. Even in like the New Wing High School, I think we adopted that, a couple years ago with our Energy Trust. So, yeah, it's a tool for us to monitor HVAC. A lot of stuff we can fix before the teachers actually get in the building. So with this Malino, this was about a $50,000 project because we've never had a south building Malino. So this, what it does is it keeps folks from messing with thermostats in the classrooms. You know, you have some folks that might, I'm cold, jack it up, and it's really hard on compressors. And so what we do is we just monitor our set points, 67 to 72. Sometimes if we have a few pods that maybe we might bump it up a degree or two, but it's a web control that is priceless to know exactly what our buildings, what our mechanical systems are doing, our cooling tower at the high school. Yeah, I can kind of go on and on. It gives us supply air temperature, even in this room.
So does it allow for proactive monitoring or is it all passive? In other words, can I send alerts if something's wrong?
We don't have that quite on our phones. So basically when we get in the morning, if there is an alarm, it will show us on the computer. We'll see something in red. We'll see a diamond in red, like RTU8 tripped out, VFD tripped out. Okay, we better go see what's going on. RTU8 on the roof of the high school. Go up there, we figure out we have a VFD that tripped. Why did it trip? Maybe it got too hot. Reset it. We've got AC going in every classroom. So yeah, maybe one of these days I'll set it up to where I can bring the computer in, flip it up, kind of maybe give you a better idea. Seeing is believing. it's a great tool. So, yeah. And this is what I'd like to implement, obviously, in our middle school. We build our new middle school and it's all kind of say what that.
Thank you, Tom.
And everything here on the front is what's gonna be planned for this next year. So we've actually had a couple of unexpected, things that have happened. The well pump at World. You noticed it started tripping now, so brought out Westerberg, our well drilling company. They did a lot of voltage testing and realized that we weren't getting the proper voltage from the building to the well pump. So we actually had to trench and run a brand new conduit and wire from the well pump to the school. We actually got that completed in 2 days. At American on-site come out, they dug the trench. It's probably, I didn't measure it, it's gotta be a couple hundred feet. They dug the trench 2 feet deep, got the conduit in, backfilled it, compacted it. Our electrician came in, ran the wire, hooked it up. And now we don't have to worry about water issues at World this year. So it's just old deteriorated, electrical line that was just buried in our conduit. So over time, it just corrects.
There was a complaint in Willowdale that there was no light in the outside area between the two buildings.
No light.
Yeah, no light, especially in the evening when people, you know, like in the winter time, it becomes dark and light.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. We actually ordered 4 brand new lights for the between those 2 buildings.
Thank you.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the high school? They had that light that was out at the entrance of the high school.
Yeah, I think we've got all that.
You got that?
I think, yeah, we actually wanted to do the new LED parking lot lights there and all the LED lights last year all around the entire perimeter of the building.
That's good to hear.
So it's really lit up. I've got Energy Trust money back for that too.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah, questions?
How does the front of the high school look? How does the front of the high school look deciding?
We have to get it painted and we're gonna be painting that this week. I've actually picked up 20 gallons of paint and so Lance and I were planning on Monday morning, starting to paint the pillars and starting to paint stuff. So, yeah.
Sorry. On the planned maintenance, it says to tear down and inspect boilers. This is MHS, the new wing.
Yeah.
What does it mean by new wing?
So that was the term I got used when I got here 10 years ago.
Okay,
That was built in 96.
okay.
So is it new? No. It's a term that we just use and it's just kind of stuck, so.
Sounds good, okay.
It was added after I graduated.
So it's new. And just to let you know too, that this is a preventative maintenance. So we're getting into preventative maintenance. You know, since I've been here in 10 years, we've never actually tore those down, opened them up, put all new insulation, actually hired it out. So, yeah, same thing with our cooling tower. This year, we got everything torn down, got all the scaling, fixed all the jetters. It was quite the project to get hired it out. Again, preventative maintenance. So we're getting into where we're trying to getting ahead of the game, so to speak.
Very good. Thank you very much.
The 2-story part of the building. That's the way they think of it.
I'm glad you're reading and paying attention.
Like, did they build another section at the high school?
They started in July and finished on it.
I know, I was just so much.
Real about it.
Next up, we have financial review, Mr. Campbell.
Oh.
Good evening.
Good evening. You have our reports. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Yes.
Give us a quick summary.
One thing I've always appreciated about Mall is finances. It's been conservative, we keep a good reserve. We're not too overly optimistic about expecting when it comes to estimating revenue expenses. So with that background, do you know what the heck happened in Newburgh? And is that a potential risk here?
From my understanding, Newburgh had 2 things. I believe it was their utilities and their special education, spending is out of their, I guess, purview. So they
So
didn't.
spending was happening, but they weren't accounting for it?
Yeah.
And those added up to 10 million?
Oh.
Yeah, that's,
Can you get out of hand?
yeah. I assumed it was something. It's been, but I work in.
I'm sure there were probably other factors. It wasn't like the Idaho school district that misread. stated revenue by team. So it wasn't that. Yikes.
So in our case, it comes in budget versus actual, we would be close.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the report you get, for me monthly is, unaudited numbers, our audit starts in a couple of weeks, so the, finance office is busy wrapping up recording transactions and getting prepared for the audit. So we'll keep you updated on that, anticipating that should be done by the end of October, so, well ahead of last year's schedule. And then there should that, based on the report that you have in front of you. So, once we get everything sorted out, we'll report on that, the final audit ministers. Our bond issuance is moving along quite nicely. I won't go over all the details. It is a lot of work. We've all been working very hard, but we're going out for pricing our bonds on August 21st, which is a big milestone. And then we should have those bonds closed by September 5th. So that's when the money comes in. So we've got the bank set up, we've got the new LGIP account set up, so we are set on our end to receive money. And Ron's gonna start to spend it, Ron's not here, so. Start to spend it, so there are milestones that we have to hit, to avoid arbitrage, so we're working on those. We've got a really good finance team that's gonna invest the funds for us and, safe investments, so. Yeah, we'll have a lot more reports on that as soon as we get that ground running on it. Okay.
In our September meeting, hopefully.
Yes.
Anything else? Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have teaching and learning report. Taxes.
McNeil and directors. Information to share with you on the screen, but there's been a lot of learning, but also a lot of fun had this summer in Manila with a lot of our summer programs for our students, but also for our staff as well, as professional development. So what I would like to do for you is kind of recap some of those things, but also use some photos to illustrate that, because I think to speak volumes. So see if my little instrument works. Nope. Make noise. Best. No.
No.
I'm gonna do a thumbs up. Thumbs up. See ya. It's such a great plan. Okay, so and I just have to use it. Right?
Making noise.
It's true.
See what happens when that Daniel up in that hobby.
I did this last time. Thank you. Yay, okay, all right, so thank you. All right. So I'm gonna start off first with talking a little bit about the early literacy grant initiative. One of the core pieces of that is actually professional development for teachers and IAs. And so we had over 30 teachers, IAs, as well as principals attend the IMSE, or Institute for Multisensory Education literacy training that happened. This training method provides a systematic sequential as well as direct instruction approach to learning how to read, which also includes some multi-sensory techniques. So teachers gained a newfound understanding of the science of reading and also really learned how to provide that structured literacy in their classrooms. It was very hands-on. It was a week that they went through the training, and I can say they're very excited about using this in their classroom. Also, we had 4 members in July attend the National Character Strong Conference. So if you remember, Character Strong is a K-8 curriculum that is used during homeroom that really helps students focus on social skills like listening, goal setting, how to make friends, how to really focus and also set goals and be leaders. And then back in June, we had our 2-week migrant summer program that was held at MES. We had 17 participants, but we also had 6 high school students that came and volunteered to help. You can see the photo there. They're helping with some reading skills. On the right-hand side, you'll see some very excited students that spent several days creating a lemonade stand, but what they really didn't know is they're using a lot of their math skills as well. And so this is project-based learning, where they're coming together, they're creating a project, and also learning in the process. Besides, that focus on literacy and math in the mornings, there was some fun field trips. And so here you see them at the Oregon Gardens, where they use their new knowledge of plants and animals. And they also went to the Aquatic Center for swim lessons. And then after the July 4th holiday, we had the elementary and middle school summer programs that began. Rosedale and Molalla Elementary were at Molalla Elementary. Clarks and Malino students were at Malino Elementary. And again, math and literacy, but a lot of field trips planned. Here you can see students, these are middle school students, and they went to the truck farm. We had some interesting experiences there. Also in mid-July, we had a special visitor. We had NASA Ambassador Hilda Pereo, and she came and used her knowledge as a pilot and also as a NASA ambassador to share with the students all about NASA, as well as what it would take to be on the moon. So their students are actually creating some moon pods. And they also learned how to navigate a drone. So there's an obstacle course that is set up there. They used an iPad to actually navigate a drone. So, and then also another example of project-based learning, defined learning. We had some MES, all of the MES classes actually create a miniature golf course. And so and created this huge mini golf course in the gymnasium. And then every class got to spend a little time and actually partake in putting. And then just this past Monday, another piece of the early literacy was to actually do some extended learning. And so we started kindergarten camp. Kindergarten camp is a 9-day camp specifically for kindergartners. It's being held right now at all 4 elementaries. And really the purpose is for the kinders to get to know their building, getting to know their teachers, as well as, making some friends before the start of school. But most importantly is to get them excited for the first official day of kindergarten. So here's some photos here from the different elementaries. Lots of smiles and lots of friendships here that are being made. And really, I also want to thank everyone involved in these summer programs, because without the dedicated teachers and IAs as well as our site leads, our food service and our bus service, we couldn't have done that. So it was a great summer. Does anybody have any questions?
That was also part of the early literacy grant.
The kindergarten camp, yes, yes. Mhm.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
I do have a question about, summer school programs.
sure.
How many people, that's on your report, but how many people participated in all the various programs?
In all of the ones that I've talked about, including kindergarten camp, we probably are about 430 students. So in our migrant, we had 17. In our elementary program, we had a robust 260. Middle school was about 40. We also had credit recovery at the high school, so that affected about 13 students. And then we have about 70 or so kinders. Kinder camp.
So were there any, fees that the participants had to pay for any of those summer school
No.
programs?
No, all of the field trips that you saw, the speakers, the different interactive kinds of things that we did. No, this was all free to participants.
Very nice, thank you. Oh, sorry. Oh,
Now, if I may, because, Rick Dixon wouldn't say this about himself, right? But I just want to capture the fact that the amount of programming, number of students touched, the very specific grant dollars, the student investment account funds, all of the coordination of all of the human beings to carry this off for what at the end of the day was, I'm using my caveman math, it's maybe 20% of our student body was involved in summer school programming. And Tamara led that and carried that off during the first year in this role. As a solo in the department, and so I just really want to learn from the board. You do great work, do this, it's no small thing, and really appreciate our leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very happy to do it.
I've taken it and running with it.
Yours? Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, next up we have the show, I don't think they're here.
Yeah, thank you. She, not able to be here today, was sick, came out sick, and I said, take care of yourself. That's more important than being here with the baby.
Yeah.
She is not at this time. Be glad to respond to any questions you might have on her report. I reviewed her report, familiar with the work she's doing. Or if you have questions I can't answer, then we'll get back to you in writing.
It may be in here, but how are we doing from a staffing perspective, at the beginning of the school year?
Much better.
I see
than-
progress.
Yeah, much better, the total numbers. So maybe I'll look to. Let's see, in terms of recent word ed, licensed and classified. Can you give a sense?
Sure, we are pretty well up to date. We have a couple learning specialists we have not filled. And then we're still in the same boat as most other districts with our speech language pathology and occupational therapists, but Robin has done a nice job of contracting out where we have needed to. And this is the time, those are bargaining unit positions, so we always have to give our best effort to fill those with bargaining unit members before we contract out. But now we're in a space where we're down to the wire, and so we will be contracting out these last few things to get ready to start. We did get some good applicants for some of the classified positions that we traditionally have been unable to fill the last few years. A really great speech language pathologist and occupational therapy assistant. So we have got some.
In that conference, piece of it. Again, not alone in that as the
No.
workforce evolves in this space. Did want to highlight for the board that, leaders do whatever it takes. I just want to say that Robin, Dr. Schroeb's decision, you might have seen it in her report, that she's boots on the ground doing kindergarten, speech and language screenings together with, so that actually saves the district money. When the director said I want to go out there and participate in that screening and do that screening myself as opposed to hiring. So I appreciate her leadership on that mile there.
She
That's
actually
correct.
also served as a kinder camp instructional assistant for a high needs student for the first couple days when we didn't have some. She was right up at Clarkson assisting to make sure the student had a good entry, so. Yeah,
Very
she's,
nice.
wherever she needs to be, she's there.
Who's this?
Robin Show.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay. Next up, we have the first reading of policies. BBF, board members, standard of conduct, BBFC, reporting of suspected child abuse. CB, superintendent, CBC, superintendent's contract. CCG, license evaluation of administrators. EBCB, emergency procedure drills and actions. EBC/EBCA, suggested to delete. EBC, emergency plan and first aid, EBCA, safety threat. And UBN/JBA, sexual harassment. So these are just the first readings. Does anybody have questions about that?
Doing the wordsmith.
Well, I don't know, honestly, I can't remember any of these.
Oh, my
because
God.
It's been so long.
So excited for reading. Yeah, very impressive. Good job.
Thank you.
Chair, I just have one question, and I think this has been covered before, but I've got the answer. On a superintendent contract, towards the bottom, it says the district may provide health insurance benefits, and number one and number two. It just seems a little out of place if we would say something that's optional in policy. Was there a reason behind that? Does anybody get on a policy committee remember that? You know what I'm talking about?
Where are you? What policy?
Policy CBC, superintendent contract, towards the bottom. The district may provide health benefits for a superintendent that is no longer employed by the district until the superintendent reaches 65 or finds new employment and provides health benefits.
Oh,
So if I had to guess, I would say that was some sort of a statutory thing, Tony, would I be correct in that we would allow,
It's saying may.
I do not.
yeah, like a may sort of thing?
Can you
No, yeah, better question for someone who's.
I don't have necessarily an issue for it, just the main.
Got a relative to answer that.
I'm pretty sure that's the statute
Is it?
that it's allowable under OF but not required.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I just remember you talking about it when we were doing the contract. About Tony's insurance situation and all that. And that he would need to be covered because he's already covered, because he's retired, but he's doing extra work.
Yeah, when an employee retires and works back, then the district has an option to continue to insure them because they're working. I'm not sure if that was referring to working back or not. That's not what I heard. Oh, when you read that.
No longer employed.
So I think it is, if there's a gap between the retirement date and turning 65 and Medicare eligible, that a district can put that in the superintendent's agreement that they would cover that gap if they're not working back. But typically, anyone working back is usually eligible to continue their benefits.
And I might just add a little for the contracts that we discussed and really approved at your May meeting. Successful agreement, the previous agreement, all the language, any language associated with benefits, like insurance. Or reframe that insurance specifically is there was no new language related to insurance specifically contract. All of that was from the previous.
It's a good question though. I mean,
Yeah.
Another question I had about the sexual harassment one, it was the GBN, JBA, sexual harassment, and it was who to contact. reports and complaints from staff of sexual harassment to be made to the following individuals. One was for Jennifer Ellis, Human Resource Director, and the other would be Amy Chapin, and the report was Christine Roth. And I'm wondering, you know, as people change, should we be having names and just instead just go ahead and keep it simplified by saying the associate principal and human resource director?
I want to check on what I'm about to say, so I could be wrong, but I believe the fact that we do include those names in
Yeah.
policy is directly required by the law.
It is.
So that patrons can know exactly who's the person who did that.
Yes, yes. It does require us to update it if someone leaves.
Oh, okay.
But anyone should be able to click on the policy and board policies and know exactly who to call. Just guess who has that title. So yes.
So every time somebody changes, it's gotta be changed right now.
Yes, and we verified with OSBA that does have to be a board action item. We can't just update a name in a policy without bringing it to the board for consideration. Because we thought it was a housekeeping thing and that Lori and I could just correct it, but we cannot. We have to bring it to you. for-
But I asked.
Any other questions about first reading of the policies?
Nope.
Okay, moving on. Superintendent's report.
The thing that folks speaking to that hasn't been addressed tonight, basically gearing up, getting ready for a great school year, is the fact that we met with all principals today and again tomorrow. That's as the kickoff for many of them will work all summer anyway. Attending trainings, they're all, but our kickoff of the school year started today. And our first work of the day, 2/3 of our. So the work we began a year and a half ago was student and measurable outcomes and sport parts and short improvement cycles. Just really happy with the work that the team is doing. Part of that will include reporting out survey results. That's reporting out, our principals are reporting out the survey results of their state versus last year to the students, staff, and parents. And they'll begin that with their staff surveys. That'll be this fall. And out of that report out comes the opportunity to identify what's working from our employees' perspective, involving them in identifying what's working. How did we get these high scores here? Well, because this and this. And here's some lower areas. Help us understand that. And employees identifying in the lower scored survey results regarding employee satisfaction, involving them and identifying what would it take to improve that score next time we take that survey. And the principals be armed with information, take right back out and implement some change to improve employee experience. So it's one example of a short improvement cycle. We're going to be doing all on. The second thing that I would just touch on is I was invited to be part of a keynote, I'm not a keynote speaker, but a keynote panel interview at the OSBA conference this week on Saturday. The outreach came to me really because someone had heard, you know, it was a community that was able to move through and really unite some pretty special things, including mission and vision on and how is it that you know, that has taken place in our community. So the board members from across the state that will be in that audience, I'll be there with Gus Balderas, who is the superintendent of Beaverton, as part of the panel, and OSBA members will be able to identify topics that they're thinking might be points of division. And Gus and I'll be able to share, you know, what our boards did, what we did. So I guess I'm speaking on our behalf as a board superintendent team to just talk about how we united the district, how you united the community around. So I just wanted you to be aware that I was invited, but
I can't be there.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us were able to go.
I think Terry is scheduled to be a solicitor.
Isn't she?
Okay. Well, I'll proudly represent your work and I'm just glad that I'm able to be part of it. If we hadn't united around the vision, mission that was compelling. You've done the work that we've done over the last 18 months under your leadership. Remember conversations with board members saying, how do we move towards something instead of fighting against things, and you really led that. So, thank you.
That's some great board members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
That invite came in like 6 days ago, so
Oh, wow.
sorry that you didn't know about it, but I didn't know about it any sooner.
Okay, board comment. Director Cummings?
Tonight,
I'm good.
And I have something more fun. I finally got my driver's license.
Oh.
You drive to work.
I can drive to work now. We're getting it tomorrow morning, so I'll actually be able to drive. So. Thank you.
Anything for you?
This is sort of repetitive. If it is, that's okay, because I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Mann yet again for how things went with the bond measure. I was sitting here tonight listening to our whatever his name is. Sorry. Who was here earlier. I was just, realizing how different this process has seemed this time around than it had gone in previous years. And so I think that is due in large part to you, the team put together, the planning that took place before. I think it was extraordinary.
Thank you very much.
Does it seem more organized?
Oh, yeah, not just more organized, but there was more detail, more information that got out. So, yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you to Andrea and everybody else that put on the Bond Barbecue. That was amazing. Good turnout and just exciting to see that the community. Their choice. That's pretty much all the time.
I'm sure I know that we adjourn.
But we gotta do upcoming meetings first.
I think I heard a little second too.
Okay, executive session, August 22nd at 6:15. Work session to follow at 7 p.m. Policy committee meeting, August 27th at 6 p.m. district office. Business meeting, September 12th at 7 p.m. district office. Now, opportunity.
I'll second.
I first the thing that she said.
And I'm second.
I'm okay.
It's unanimous.